Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge Reviews. Have you ever wondered what games you should sell or you should use? Find out here at Purge Reviews. Find out on our top 10 list what games you cannot miss. Don't forget to subscribe to Purge Reviews.
Street Fighter, the deck building game. I guess I need to make a few things aware at the beginning here, right? You want to know some things about me. Am I a Street Fighter fan? Well, I do have a story where my grandfather bought me a Super Nintendo game one time, and I picked Street Fighter 2. This is the original one for Super Nintendo. And I did play it quite a bit. I was never a fighting fan, so the Mortal Kombat thing, although I knew what it was, and Primal Rage, I know what that is. I never went to the arcades and played them. Growing up, I didn't really hang out in arcades much. With that said, we also, when I played Street Fighter 2, I'm not really sure that we learned a bunch of moves, you know, the combos and all that. I think we just kind of button mashed a lot. And you picked up some moves by that, but I would even say we were competent players looking back now. So I'm aware of Street Fighter 2, but I'm not a fan of Street Fighter 2. And, you know, once you started getting into like Alpha Street Fighter and Street Fighter 3, I even was vaguely aware of Street Fighter 2 Turbo, but I don't think I played it much, if at all. I wanted to preface that because this is a DC deck building game with some twists, with a variant. And that's what they're doing with that system, is they're putting other license on it and changing some of the minor rules up to give you a different experience, hopefully. So I went into the DC deck building game saying, hey, I know who these characters are, I enjoy this universe somewhat. But this isn't one that I was like, oh, I really, you know, Street Fighter 2, ooh, I'm the biggest, I'm super excited. Although I was excited for a license that was different. Instead, I think I found my favorite game using this system. I need to play the Lord of the Rings games a little bit more, but I think by far this one's my favorite. And it's not the theme, and I wanted to get that out of the way. If you're a Street Fighter fan, then this is a no-brainer if you like this little engine thing and you're not just stuck on it. What I like about this one is there are heroes that you can pick up, and I think in the game, there's not a real big storyline about who's friends. There's some good guys and there's some bad guys. So Balrog and Ken or Ryu are probably not hanging out. In this game, you can get his characters a little bit, but I'm okay with that for now. What you do in this one that's different is instead of having super villains that you're fighting, you have locations. And I'll show you this in the flow of the game, but just so we talk about it now. And then when you beat that location, it goes in your deck, and now you have those locations. Before, they were just part of the main deck. Now when you beat that location, you turn over a random player, somebody who you didn't choose to be, maybe Sagat or Ken, and then they will attack you back. So you do a little bit of damage to you, perhaps. You also have the Ultra system where there's a really good card you have that's off to the side, and you can add to that and put more cards to the side that only you can buy. This is a great fix of this game because if a good card came up sometimes, even though it would work really well with you or made sense with your character, you can always get it. I also have a sneaking suspicion that the character cards work well together. Balrog works well with the Balrog cards. Sagat works well with the Sagat cards. I don't think it's necessarily always going to be the case, but I think it's a step in the right direction, and it increases it just a tad for me. With that said, I'm a Legendary fan, so I like Legendary much more. This gives me more of an appeal. It's more of a complete game. This is one resource, which is power, and it's a more simplistic game, and I'm okay with that. It has its purpose in its place. The theme feels a lot more thrown on there, but I think out of all of my plays, Street Fighter may have the most attached theme. I don't think it's going to compare to the Legendary series, especially the Encounters one, where I really feel like I'm in there, as much as you can with a card game, I suppose. I think this theme is more strongly associated with the game because of that location mechanic. I really, really like that. If you're going to buy one and theme isn't the most important decision, then this one is ultimately the one that you're going to buy. Highly recommend this one. So I think if you're like, which one of these games should I start with? I'm going to start with this one. I might end up doing a top 10 of my favorite top 10 games with this system, if you will. But Street Fighter, I think, would be on top of that. I like this one quite a bit, and it's not because of the theme. If you like the theme, then it's a no-brainer. As far as I know, this is the only Street Fighter game of any substance. There may be some mass market games I'm unaware of, or I'm sure they exist, but this would be the one, if I was a Street Fighter fan, that would honestly be on top of my list. So I'm going to actually keep this one. I'm still undecided on some of the others in comparisons. I recently did a review of Teen Titans. I think that one's going to go. But I think I'll keep the deck building game with DC, this one, and then some, because the DC one has some other thing like the Crisis that go with it. That can be. It's a shame this one didn't get an expansion. Maybe it will, probably won't. But I think right here they have their winner, and I don't know how the sales went. But I would recommend this one. It's a keep. The deck building game, I kind of want to show you what comes in it. The box is beautiful. I really like the artwork on this. I like the way it looks. You have a little bit about what goes on in the back. I don't want to flip it over too much because I think the cards will come loose. It says 15 and up on it. You can ignore that. That's for other reasons, not this game. You are going to get a nice instruction manual. They do a pretty good job of explaining this for people who've never played these games before. If you've played these games or you've played a deck builder before, you might want to start with the additional rules, because this is all how to play a deck builder, and then you move on from there, some clarification. But I think the rulebook, I'm always mesmerized by these notes pages. Who takes notes in the back of this? I mean, maybe somebody does. I don't know. And this is really nice for a turn sequence at the back. What do you got in the box here? Okay, so what we're going to get here. Now, when you learn how to play this in the flow of the game, you'll see why this is all set up a little bit differently. Once again, this is way too big for what you need. Maybe they were thinking about expansions with this. I don't think any expansion came out with the Street Fighter one, but there's definitely room in here for it. You're going to get some locations. This is important because in this one you're going to go through stages. And in the flow of the game, you'll see this. This will be places that you play in the game. USA, there's Hong Kong, Japan, India, Brazil, Russia, United Kingdom, and at last, Thailand. You're going to get some characters. I'll show you what you have. And this is kind of important because not only do you play as these guys, but you will also fight against these guys. So it's a little bit different than other DC deck builders. You got Belrog, you got Cammy, Guile, M. Bison, Sagat, Blanca. That's not the Sagat from Full House, by the way. Blanca. You're going to get Ken, Akuma, Zangief. We've got Vega, E. Honda, Fei Long, Ryu, Talisman, Chun-Li. And I'm not a Street Fighter guy, but I know a lot of these guys, although I wouldn't say that I know. And they each are going to come with a different counterattack. And it's a little bit different than the other ones. You can see they all say counterattack on them. I'll explain how that works in the flow of the game. But no, it's not like the other ones where everybody has a power. They have a counterattack in this one. A little bit different, and I'll show you how that works. You're going to get an Ultra card. Each character has a matching Ultra card that will come out with them. This will make sense when I explain how the flow of the game is, but there's just one for each character in the game. So these can almost just stay there right with them. The vulnerability cards will look like this. These are starters. They give you nothing. These are the ones that just clog up your deck. They have no value whatsoever. If you played other the DC Universe, the Hobbit games, Lord of the Rings, this will make sense to you. You get your kick, which is 1 victory point and 2 power. You will get your weaknesses. Now, these are different than a lot of the other ones. Still minus 1 victory point, no cost. But when you play this card, it returns the weakness stack. So, if they're stuck at the end of the game, they'll do negative points. But otherwise, they leave your hand pretty quickly. But you're going to get a lot of those. And these are the punches, your generic cards that you start the game out with, worth 1 power and no victory points. And then you're going to get a stack of cards, which is the main deck. And these will do a whole bunch of different stuff. If you play the other ones, it makes sense. You have equipment cards, villains that you'll be, heroes that you'll gain. There's Sakura, which is another playable character, I believe. Some equipment. There's Belrog again. As a villain, you got Belrog's gloves. And what you'll notice in this one, I feel like, is that a lot of these play together. So you'll be collecting, if you're getting the villain here, he'll work really well with the other Belrog cards. I don't know who this guy is, but we just thought Gil was incredible. He reminds me of a professional wrestler with that long yellow hair, golden, and he's like half right, half blue, just silly as him. You have heroes in this. You have some superpowers. But it was nice how like the Saga cards kind of worked well together. So if you were playing that way, and you're just gonna get a ton of these. There's a ton of these in this, and there's plenty to go through. You'll probably not likely use all of these in the same 2 or 3 games. They'll just be shuffled up. Those are components. I think the cards are really nice. The backs kind of match the other sets. I think the cards are really nice. No problems. If you're gonna play this a lot, you're probably gonna want to sleeve it. Otherwise, the components are just great, but all you're really going to get is these cards. The rules for this game is pretty good. I like how it kind of teaches you how to deck build if you've never done one before. And there's a section like, okay, now, if you know how to deck build, these are all the games that... or these are all the new mechanisms and mechanics that are in this game that are going to be different than what you're used to. So the rules are fairly clear. Even if you played the other ones, I'd recommend at least starting at that section and going through it and looking at them and reading them. But you'll be up and playing in no time at all if you have any experience at all. But if you're a new gamer, this is something you could get into also. Let me give you a quick overview of how this game works. So you are going to always have 5 face-up cards that can be bought from any of the players. A couple different types. You have villains that you can beat. Sometimes you'll see victory points with asterisks. The victory points are here that you get to the end of the game. It'll be like in the game's worth 1 VP for each agent of Shadow in your deck. This is a card that will come up a few times, and it costs at least 4 to beat him. You'll have superpowers that will do things. They're worth victory points. They have a cost, and they'll do things for you. Another villain. You get a hero. These are people who fight alongside of you, I suppose, thematically, +1 power. They do different things and have victory points. And then you have equipment that you can get. Draw a card at the end of the game, so worth 1 victory point. So you have the asterisk again because it's changing. And you'll have these cards face up that anybody can buy on their turn. And what you're going to do during the game is you're going to draw 5 cards on your turn. And you can spin these cards to buy things. So these are the vulnerabilities. These are the ones that will clog up your deck. You will start out with a number of vulnerability, I think 3 and 7 of these punches. Let me just kind of show you how these work. You played deck builder before, you know, this could be a thing. So there's only 1 currency in this game, which is power. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can spin those to buy cards. So you can buy as many cards as you can afford. So this card right here, just show you, is a 6. I cannot buy this. I have 5 power, so this would not be one I could buy. I could buy this superpower, even though it has a different character on it than I'm playing. I could buy this for 3, and then maybe go over here and beat Belrog. He was a villain, and adding to my deck too. And these would go in my discard pile. Then when my discard pile, or my deck is empty and I can't draw anymore, I shuffle up my discard pile, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Draw 5 more, and that allows these cards I just purchased to come back in my hand. Okay, that's deck building. I think if you're watching this, you probably know about deck building. But let me show you a couple extra cards that you can have in the game. The kick is a card that's always available. It costs 3, so you can't buy anything else, and it's 2 power. So you'll get some of these during the game. Some things will allow you to get these weaknesses. To point out, it's different than other DC and things, that when you play this, it goes away, and that's unique to this game. Okay, so here's what's really unique about this game that I really, really like. So in the other games, you're fighting supervillains, and that's what you're doing. You beat a number of supervillains, you win. In this one, you have locations where you're fighting at. So this will be the first location, and these do not go in the deck like other. They're not in the main deck like DC. I'll just say that. Instead, this is a location, stage 1, and these will have stage 2 through 8, and you'll beat all of these as you go. So to beat it, you need to score 7. You saw I just had, 6, so I wouldn't have had enough to beat this. But let's say I had enough 7. I would add this to my discard pile, and when it comes through my deck, when you play this card, leave it in front of you for the rest of the game. Once during each of your turns, put the top card of the main deck under your superhero. That's important. So what's going to happen in this one is you're going to have a lot of cards going under your superhero. So at the beginning of the game, you will have picked a character, whichever guy you want to be. We'll just say Blanca. And I think this is a promo that come with it. I don't think he's in every deck. I could be wrong. So let me grab his Ultra card here. So you have a bunch of Ultra cards, and 1 for each character that you will add to the deck. And I'm going to show you Blanca because I don't think he comes in. So At the beginning of the game, this card will be under it. I always just put it to the side because I can't read it if it's under it. But I can buy this card, and I'm the only person that can buy this card. And if I buy it at a cost of 6, I'll have a +2, and you can attack. And there's cards that will allow you to attack the other players. Each foe gains a weakness, and then discards all starter cards from their hand. You can also play as a defense. So if somebody attacks you, you can play a defense and just be like, I got this card, discard it. You may shuffle this card into your deck to avoid an attack. If you do, draw a card and counterattack. So if I'm able to use this card as a defense, and each ultra works the same way, I can then use my counterattack power for my, which is gain a weakness for each card with 6 or greater in your discard pile. This would happen to my enemy. So these ultra cards can be very powerful. You want to buy these so you can utilize this counterattack. But just like you saw the location, it'll say draw a card and put it underneath your character. Which means now I'm the only person that can buy this card. And this is a little bit unique that I'm going to have these cards. They don't score any points, but they don't do anything unless I buy them and add my deck. They work like these cards in the center, except for I'm the only one that can buy it. And this just kind of adds a little bit of theme to me where like I can more strategically plan out what I want to do, and I have these cards I can buy when I want to buy them. Especially with the ultra card, it's like imagine learning like a big hit in the game or something, or a huge combo. This is my guy. I want this. This is my large combo, if you will, thematically for me anyway. And that's the big change here, is that instead of finding supervillains, you're doing these locations, and then when you beat one of these locations, you will flip over one of the characters not in the game. So all the characters that aren't in the game, these things usually would have like DC Comics, you would get one of these. These are a pile. And when I beat a location, I flip him over, and everybody has to, or I have to do this, put a superpower in your discard pile and play under your superhero. So I don't know which hero I'm going to have. So let's say I beat location 1. I just flip over a random one. Oh, I was fighting Ryu, and now I have to do what his attack is, and then he goes away. And this location goes in my deck, and then when I beat the second one, I take another random one over. Oh, I was fighting Filong, and I do his counterattack. It's just a way to do it without being able to plan for it. I mean, it would make more thematic sense if I knew I was fighting Belrog, but then I could just plan for his attack, which I can't do this way. So it kind of works. So let me reiterate really quickly. The game is normal, except for the weaknesses, which get rid of when you play them. That's new. You also have these ultra cards that only you can buy, and other cards you have the ability to put in your pile that only you can buy and aren't utilized or score any points until I buy them. And then you're finding the locations instead of the supervillains. And when I beat a location, I get the card, which is great, but then I'm going to have to fight the guy, which is usually a negative. So that's the big difference. I really like that. So it really feels like I'm playing, well, it feels like I'm playing Street Fighter a little bit more because I'm at a location and I'm actually fighting Ryu, who will harm me and hit me back while I'm playing against somebody else. There's attacks you can do against the other people. I've seen that in DC with the defense cards. The main things are ultra cards in this location and flipping these over. So you want to be careful about who you pick, because whatever characters aren't picked are people you potentially will be fighting during the round. Very, very good implementation of this system. Street Fighter deck building game. Who should buy this game? Anybody looking for a filler, they can also play with their kids and they want it to go back and forth. If you want to take a game to Thanksgiving and have some non-gamers play, I think this will fit the bill. You're going to have to like that screwage factor. Somebody else is going to be moving your pawn around the table, which will have consequences on how many carrots you get. So some of it is out of your control, but then on your turn, you can get them back if you want. There's a little bit of metagaming that will be going on there. There's no way to make deals per se. I mean, I promise I won't move yours. None of that's in the rules. But I'm sure that's going to happen in this type of game. And then you just screw them over on your turn. It's so light, but it's a really fun little filler. If you like getting games off the beaten path that maybe others haven't heard of, check out Card Nickel. I think this will fit what you're looking for.